Can we trust AI? Everybody wants to know. But is this the right question? Or maybe the better question is, can we trust ourselves? And stop blaming the mirror for reflecting back at us who we are. You see, AI doesn't have a trust problem. I believe AI has a human problem. Isn't it so that every powerful tool we've ever built, we've bent to self-interest? The difference with AI is that we are not just using it. It is using us too. Every prompt, every search, every fear, whatever we feed it, it faithfully reflects back to us. Quicker, faster, amplified. A 2020 study in Nature tracked GPS users. The more they used it, the worse their spatial memory got. The hippocampus, the area in the brain which atrophies first with Alzheimer's, measurably shrank. We outsourced the thinking, and our brain shrank. Social media. A University of Pennsylvania study limited young adults to 30 minutes a day. They came back reporting feeling measurably less lonely and less depressed. So less of what is designed to connect us, and we felt more connected. Because our feeds don't feed us, do they? They feed on us. Every like, every follow, every message. Of course, a quick dopamine hit which mimics connection, but actually doesn't deliver it. You know the feeling? This year, MIT published a study called Your Brain on ChatGPT. They tracked, of course, the brain activity in people who were writing essays. Those who use AI versus those who don't. I will spare you how that looked. Now, on that note, I have a confession to make. In order to prepare this 10-minute talk, I wrote 100 pages. No worries, you don't have to sit for the 100. So I went to Claude and I asked it to help me. But at first I had this deadline looming and I was stressed and I became anxious and petrified. And I said I wanted it to tell me what to do and quickly. You've never done that. What came back was very, very, very clever, but it didn't sound like me anymore. Do you know that feeling? So I had a choice, as we do. Quick fix or get clear and do the work and lead. I've spent over 20 years as a strategic advisor to world leaders, to Fortune 500 CEOs, to humans from all walks of life. What distinguishes them is they come because they are courageous and are willing to become truly honest in order to become the impact they seek. They understand that in a world of AI, it's less about what we are doing and it's more about who we are being and why we are being. To do all this, I also spent 40 years examining, 40 plus years, I know you wouldn't believe, but examining myself. And the question that keeps repeating is, what is it that makes certain people thrive and pay it forward and others not? What consistently comes back is that those who thrive are those who remain unconditionally true and faithful to themselves. But here's the catch. How can we be faithful to ourselves if we don't even know who we are? If we don't know the algorithm running our subconscious programs? 18 years ago, I sat with the CEO of a very successful private equity firm. He was a winner on paper, top of his game, and one day in our session, he opened up about a woman he had loved the wrong way. It was not a pretty sight. He broke down, was on the floor crying, and for the first time in a very long time for him, he did what no AI can do. He felt who he was being in this relationship. He had been so focused on excelling, on producing output, on winning, and dangerously low on feeling what was truly going on inside himself, and as a result, in everything and everyone he touched. He said, Shani, if I go down this path of feeling, it's going to be very bad because I'm going to lose my edge. I will lose everything. So I said, great. And I asked him to imagine himself on his deathbed, where no power, accolades, or money would matter anymore. He did not like, and I will even say he despised, the man he met there for hurting those he said or thought he had loved, and for producing but missing the depth of the substance until it was very much too late. He met his death before his death, and he made a choice. Having realized that he doesn't get anything forward, he asked himself for the first time, who am I? And what am I here to give? The impact of that choice, many years later, is immeasurable for his family, his children, but of course, surprisingly so, most would say, for his businesses too. There has never been a generation in human history that voluntarily outsourced thinking until now. We are not doing it because we have to, we're doing it because it's easier, right? We've become obsessed with output and blind to input. We know what we want to produce, we know what we want to get, but we often forget who we are and what we are here to give. Purpose. This is why trust is at an all-time low. This is why AI, our most magnificent mirror, terrifies us so much. And we're pointing fingers at it instead of recognizing our own reflection in it. We don't distrust AI randomly. We distrust AI because we know history. Millennia of evolution of an inbuilt algorithm of self-interest. The question is, will we crack this code? Will we defy this algorithm? And just like we're so afraid of AI doing with us, will we become sovereign? Will we become trustworthy? Because we can continue pointing the finger at AI, at its creators, at its users, but what does it have in common? Really? Us, right? AI learns, speaks, amplifies our language. It was built by us, and it's used by us. So the question is maybe not what is AI doing to us. Maybe the better question is what are we doing to AI? And who do we need to become in order for it to amplify the best in us, in humanity? Are we being fearful and scarce and quick fix oriented, ego driven? Or are we being sovereign? Are we being generous? Are we being growth oriented, bringing out the highest in us? To be clear, the ego is not the issue. Our issue is the unawareness towards it. So if you feel like I do, that the world needs us better, then I have 4 keys, 4 practices for you. It came from my client who had an aha moment. And guess what? I call it the aha method. The first, attention. Right now in my phone, I have 2 platforms. Actually, I have more, but let's talk about 2. One is showing me deep Jungian psychology. The other, perimenopausal supplements and hair loss ads. Same me, Two different ways in which the algorithm recognizes me because of where I placed my attention, even just once and even by accident. Where attention goes, energy flows. So here the key is, you decide, because if you don't, the algorithm will. What do you want to place your attention on? Clue, what do you want to amplify? The second, honesty. How many of you have reached for your phone? Of course, not in my talk, but in the last hour. How many of you have asked AI a question that you were too afraid to ask yourselves? Because the algorithm running our feed, as we know, has been designed by some of the most incredible minds on the planet to keep us hooked. Because our attention pays dividends. And so what hooks us better than fear? Fear of being alone, fear of not being enough, fear of you name it. So next time, before you reach for that device, stop. Take a moment to feel yourself and ask, am I moving in fear or in truth? Clue is fear has a tension to it and an urgency. Truth will have a lot of space. The third, agency. Now here the work gets harder if it wasn't hard enough yet. Here we're not just saying no to the algorithm. We're saying no to consuming what we know isn't good for us. We're saying no to the parts of us that want to continue consuming it anyway. And we're saying no to being the perpetrators of that onto others by refusing to create products, services, conversations that hook others, often the way we've been hooked. So here the key is, choose one thing today to say no to. One app, one scroll, one AI shortcut, and notice with a breath, who am I being in that space that's created? Who am I? And the fourth, my favorite, audacity. Most of us want to amplify before we've done the inner work, and trust me, I've been there and I've done that. Then we wonder why the more we amplify, the lonelier it feels. And here you will remember, hopefully, the audacity to stay faithful to who you are, even when the world around is pulling in every other direction. Close the feed. Close the chat. Sit with yourself, even for one moment, and breathe. Becoming curious about who you are when no algorithm, inner or outer, is telling you who to be. Before every decision, take a moment for an aha moment, and then action. Because the machines, they will keep getting smarter and faster. The question is, will we become wiser? Because we are a magnificent humanity. And we can remember this. And we can trust that and act on that. Shall we? If you carry one question out of this talk today, may it be this. When no one is watching but AI, who will you choose to be? Thank you.